Okay.
But we here now.
I'll double check that.
Started at the bottom.
God damn.
Now we here.
Ugh.
I'm just making the worst monstrosity mankind's ever seen.
Do your reading.
Welcome everybody to a saintly bowl of dude soup, because I got back from vacation today, and it's all about me.
Okay.
Podcast is about me.
All right.
And me yelling at people on the internet. I love what we've become. Me specifically.
I'm glad we've given you a soapbox to stand on.
Yeah.
And advertisers can work with
And they
you too.
love it.
Yeah.
They love it.
It's great.
We want more of it. More.
What's happening?
What? They're having a
Oh.
private conversation. Don't worry
That's
about
nice.
it.
That's cool.
Doesn't involve you.
Okay.
All right.
Fair
you
enough.
need not concern yourself.
Need not
fine.
concern myself. It's Fallout time. They're Fallout mods. That's cool.
Already?
Yeah, already. My favorite is one.
Who's
Yeah,
talking?
what is going on?
Spool. Okay.
I don't know what the problem is. They're just talking back there.
It's distracting.
Very loud.
Listen, this
my
podcast.
time
This
now.
podcast isn't about people talking.
I like that. I like that we're like, oh, that's kind of distracting that they're talking back there. Meanwhile, we have a 47-inch screen to our right, which is showing Shia LaBeouf watching his own movies.
We'll get to that later.
Okay.
I think the audio is still coming. Fuck, the audio is still coming through the system. Piece of shit.
Yeah.
Why?
I miss Bruce.
Hey. Yeah, that looks good. We're professionals here.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were saying?
Welcome to Repeating Bowl of Dude Soup. We got Fallout mods. I was looking today. There's one, the best one, replaces. Thank you, James. Replaces the icon for Fallout 4 with a giant picture of Todd Howard.
Perfect.
Yes, mods are wonderful.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what are you doing to this poor man?
What do you mean?
What about this poor woman? She was like, I'm pretty sure I was married to a handsome guy.
Hey, love is eternal.
And then he looked in the mirror, and now this is how he looks. And this is before the bombs dropped.
Little robot buzzing around back here. He's a hero, okay? He served his country.
Not yet. Oh wait, yes he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's see here. Let me poke in some other mods. There's so Fallout mods are already happening. That's pretty cool. But there was some more information. There was an interview between Lawrence Herb and Pete Hines at Bethesda, and they dropped some small tidbits about how mods are going to work. It's actually pretty cool. They're going to be hosted on Bethesda Net, which is apparently a thing now. So yeah, Bethesda will host it, and oh Jesus,
What?
And whenever you there will be. He described it as like you're in the game and there's a menu option to just look at mods, and then you see a list of mods and you just hit I want that and it downloads it, installs it for you. You don't have to worry about like folder structures or,
Sorry.
oh boy, or anything like that.
Still getting over a cough.
That's okay. So that's neat. I think that's kind of the vision of mods that I think people have always wanted to come to console. You don't have to tweak it, you don't have to mess with it, you don't get theoretically they won't conflict with each other, which kind of became a problem in Skyrim at some point for me.
Of course.
I remember I did a lot of ENB testing. There was like that. It basically replaced all the renders for Skyrim and like made it so you could have cool lighting effects and different color palettes and things like that. But after a while, they started to like stack on top of each other, even when I would cycle them out. So it got to where there was so much like bloom and lens flares that every time I go outside, I just get blinded, and I had to like look away from every light source so the game would be normal.
You're like, I did this to myself.
Basically, that's what I kind of like about mods, though. It's you just start layering them, and then they start interacting with each other in weird ways. And provided the game still runs,
Who needs mods? Have the perfect man right here.
gave him a little splooge on his face. God, this poor guy. He's getting cum in an open wound on his face.
Imagine this face at the bar.
Ugh.
Would you like to come home with me?
I'll buy you a drink, sir.
Jesus Christ.
It's poison.
My turn, big guy.
Oh man, we've come a long way with video games. That's for
Oh, you're gonna change her now too?
Yeah. You can change both of them.
All right, make her really beautiful though.
Okay. Perfect.
She's already pretty nice looking.
Really beautiful.
So Adam, what have you done in the Fallout?
What's that? Oh, so I played it. You and I were both playing it on
Yeah.
Xbox for a little bit, and that was. I always feel like it's the demo version of the game. This is the PC master race and me talking.
Yeah, it
Because you always I remember this happened with me with New Vegas. I remember one time I was playing the game and it was just always running really slow. Load times are always really bad. You keep thinking, man, I know there's a PC version out there that will run better because it is kind of performance based. I remember at one point I got on top of a hill and I had a sniper rifle and I aimed at something really far away and the game crashed. I was like, all right. So you can't do that in the game without just breaking something that's just in the game.
Is this in 4 or was it in New Vegas?
That was
Sorry.
New Vegas.
Oh, okay.
And then with 4, we'd been playing it. Everything was going fine. Load times were bad. It ran at kind of a low frame rate. But like, at the end of the day, Fallout's just kind of a fun game. It's just about exploring and like doing like silly things. But it got to a point I was showing Peak, like I had some gameplay where there were some explosions and the game just ran at like 3 frames a second. And I was like,
wow.
okay, yeah, it's getting pretty bad. And like aiming's kind of hard with the controller and all that stuff. So I started it last night, and then Bruce texted me at like 9:30 and said, "You want to go see Spectre?" And I said yes. So we talk about it on the podcast. And then Bruce has food poisoning, so he can't come in.
Oh, man. Did he get that last night?
He got it while we were in Austin for Extra Life.
Ooh. Too much store cheese.
Yeah.
That's why you got to keep it safe. Chipotle only.
James, Bruce, and Blaine went and got sushi. And then Bruce is the only one who got sick.
I wasn't there, Adam.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
You weren't there? I'm sorry, Joel, not James. Something with a J.
I was like, oh. I wonder
that?
how I like the sushi.
You all start to look the same after a while.
God, sushi food poisoning might be the worst food poisoning that exists.
Never had it.
I mean, it's a gamble every time. It's
guess
raw
so.
You are
fish.
eating raw fish, yeah.
But it's like you can get food poisoning off certain kinds of food.
Yeah.
And it seems like getting it off raw fish is the worst. I got it off like a peach cobbler once, and that was pretty raunchy.
It creates a black hole in your stomach that basically is the source to whatever the food came from. So if you eat bad fish, then you're going to throw up basically the equivalent of an ocean.
Oh,
Just the bottom,
Just salty.
the sea bottom dweller kind of sea, salty,
coral in
nastiest-
there.
Bleh.
Nice,
But if
scratchy.
you, would you say what yours was?
peach cobbler.
Peach cobbler. So that's like dirt, soil,
Georgia
bark,
asshole.
and things,
Racism
bushes.
flying right out of my mouth.
Nice work making a beautiful woman there.
Working on beauty
so-
is in the eye of the beholder.
I haven't,
Asshole.
played,
Angry all the
I haven't played Fallout yet. Are people really upset about how it runs on consoles? Are people
so
vocally
I'm-
upset?
It's about what you'd imagine. Oh,
I think it's more about being. It's my surprise at people being surprised.
she looks like a Maui head. Speaking of, I went to a tiki bar. It's pretty cool.
We'll get there.
But
I'm genuinely curious because obviously we've had some big high profile releases this year that have
she
not
moves.
come out perfectly optimized for every system and platform that they're on, and now
I think it is exactly what you would expect. It runs better on PS4, and everybody's like, "Oh, big fucking surprise!" And then there's somebody who's like sliding in to say PC is the best.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
no.
probably is though, right?
I mean, I assume so.
I'm
I
just
mean,
trying to think.
it runs at. There's a weird. You're seeing all the.
It's also frame capped on PC. I've heard this. This was also in the mod thread. I
It's
was
like
reading.
tied to your monitor
What?
refresh rate. I don't know. I just saw it this morning, but
Huh.
yeah, this is. I don't know. It's so weird. Like it surprises me that people don't realize that history repeats itself. And you're like,
Are you saying that
this is exactly what happened when Skyrim came out. Like there were
something never changes?
there were
Is that
issues.
what you're saying, Adam?
Oh, shut up.
Adam.
Hate you. But yeah, I mean, like this happens all the time. This is every game now. Like I'm not saying you should be accepting of it or anything like that. It's just
Yeah.
like just don't be surprised. I don't
Also,
know.
yeah, Skyrim kind of ran like crap on PS3 and 360. Kind
yeah.
of ran really bad, and I don't know. Were people expecting this to be like better?
Maybe
just
because of the next gen consoles. I think look at what Fallout 3 looked like, and then look at what Fallout 4
Yeah.
looks like. Like art direction wise, they look infinitely different, but they run about the same, about on par,
Yeah,
about
relatively speaking.
around the time they came out on their counterpart of consoles.
So there are some people that are mad about some things, and this was maybe last week before people could actually play it. And I think to some degree it's that inevitable snapback when people drive themselves mad with anticipation.
Oh, totally.
And then it's like the dude who's obsessing over the girls, like I love you, I hate you, I fucking hate you, I love you, I fucking hate you, and they like get really weird about it. So I think to some degree it was that, but people got really mad about the fact that there was that video that came out that shows somebody walking from one end of the game to the other in about 11 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it is geographically it's a lot smaller.
Why is that ear weird?
God damn it.
What did you do?
know.
You got rid of her ear. All right.
Keep
And
going.
then
Yeah.
people are also mad, or rather, the Digital Foundry did what they always do, and they compared all the versions of the game, and they found that Xbox One and PS4 actually perform pretty similarly, but Xbox One has this unique thing where it will just hang for a second sometimes, and then pick back up. So overall, PS4 obviously performs better. That's the typical case, but it seems like the differences are actually pretty slight. Neglecting that one giant chunk that seems to hit every so often. Personally, I never experienced that, or if I did, it was like I'm just so used to like going, oh, it froze for a little bit. I'm just like, for better or worse, that's gaming now. So I guess my brain just automatically pastes over it, or I'm so used to playing on PC that whenever I go to a console, I kind of expect some amount of chug somewhere in there. Maybe, I don't know, I think maybe I'm just too accepting. There's some people on the internet that are like, no, we gotta hold them to the fire over everything. The menu didn't load right. But it's fine now. But it
Yeah.
didn't load
I
right.
was just curious because I hadn't really heard anything.
That's
And
on internet
generally,
voice.
when something as big as this happens, it's either. I mean, I guess it has only been out for a little while, but it's
Like a couple hours at this point.
Yeah, it seems like people are like, oh, I'm happy with what I got, for the most part, which is impressive.
I got to be honest. As I've been hinting, I've been out of the loop for the past couple of days. So all of the parades and fanfare thrown around Fallout, I've kind of missed out on. I'm kind of not in the discussion. I plan to fix that pretty soon. But yeah, most of what I've seen, it's just like people are excited to kind of get to work, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
They're excited to jump into the mod scene and just start fucking up the game as hard as they can. And I think, yeah, you're right. Mostly it's just, man, Adam.
What?
It's mostly people just going around enjoying the wasteland. That's one of the things that I noticed right away when, I put in about 10 hours on it, I think. And the density of the game is way better than it used to be. Fallout 3, there'd be like bombed out houses and stuff, but you go inside and it would just be empty. Maybe there'd be like a dresser with like some bottle caps in it or something like that.
I find something.
Whereas in 4, you go into like way denser urban areas like Concord, and almost every house you can walk inside, and almost every house has multiple stories and multiple rooms. And instead of it just being squares that have junk in them, like this is obviously the living room. This was the den. This was a kid's room. Like there's actual artistry and thought put into all interior spaces, which is really, really cool.
Cool.
And as Adam, you were noticing, you found that one room where there are like two skeletons strangling each other.
Yeah, you can go into what's that first town you go into when you're in Commonwealth and you find all the Minutemen.
Serenity or whatever? Oh, that one.
I forgot the names because I didn't really get to play anything this weekend because of Extra Life. But yeah, you find this one room. You just find kind of bottle caps, but there's these two skeletons, one strangling the other one. The other guy's like, and then there's like a woman off to the corner. And there's really, I mean, maybe there's like a text in there somewhere. I didn't find anything, but you sort of piece these stories together of like, okay, clearly there was like a jealous lover or something, and maybe he walked in on it. But you kind of create your own story in this universe where like it's really not part of the main story. It's just kind of an interesting tidbit that someone went out of their way to put into the game to make it feel more fleshed out. And I enjoy those little things. I don't know. There was plenty of that in Skyrim where it's just like, it's usually skeleton humor. It's weird. But yeah, so I always kind of appreciate that.
Has anyone gone through to say how long the actual main story campaign is?
I'm sure a reviewer has put a number on it somewhere.
Yeah,
I know that's not really important. I just know that like
never
what
is.
was it, Fallout 3? If you didn't get distracted, and the whole game is designed to distract you, but if you didn't get distracted, you could theoretically finish it in like a handful of hours.
I guess. I don't know.
Leveling might be an issue, but
Yeah, and I don't know what your rush is because typically the Bethesda games, like the story's not the best part. It's always like it's sort of the story you create for yourself and how like the unlimited ways. And I don't know if it's really unlimited, but like the multitude of ways that you can solve any one problem. It's kind of crazy. I don't know. Like, I was watching some guy's recap of Fallout New Vegas. And he was doing stuff in there that I had never seen before. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating. I wish I had known about that because I just shot everything.
Adam, you should start playing the game, by the way.
I am playing the game.
No, you should
This is
play
the
the
game.
actual game.
speaking
She's
of like
not done yet.
extending your play time, I think that kind of Adam.
What?
I think that relates to I'm giving her burns now. Oh man, what a
This is how God made her.
What a beautiful lady.
I don't think God put scars on her face, burn scars. Oh, seal! And I'm never gonna survive unless I get to the shelter.
I think those sorts of talking points, like, oh, if you wanted to, you could beat it in 6 hours, so it's a shitty game. Those are kind of the headlines that get pulled out, and people like to fight about them. I don't think.
That's why I'm just saying I haven't seen any of those headlines.
You'd
which
think
is
there would be,
interesting, you know?
I mean, the biggest one was like, holy shit, Fallout's so small, you can walk across it in 11 minutes. And like a lot of people on various forums and stuff I saw were really digging into that and saying like, pre-order canceled, this game sucks, Todd Howard, how could you?
Yeah.
Just because it wasn't big.
Yeah,
Ish.
which we've discussed several times. Bigger is almost universally never better.
Yeah, that's true. But also, I can empathize with that to a degree, especially when it comes to a game like Fallout 4 or Skyrim or something like that. And especially if you're like in junior high or high school and this is the one game you get for the next year. Sometimes you just want it to. Oh man.
God.
Sometimes you just want it to have a lot of meat on its bone. Like that lady right there.
But size of world doesn't necessarily indicate meat, which is something we've always said before.
Yeah, but it does indicate padding. That's one of the things that I noticed when traveling through Fallout 4. because I was kind of mainlining the story, like you said, which was actually enjoyable because it got me kind of behind the level curve, so it was actually challenging, which is not something I'm used to when it comes to Bethesda RPGs. But just like traveling from place to place, the downtime of just moving was a lot shorter. So I did a lot more, and my play experience was more dense. But if I needed to play that game for a year and a half, and it was the only one I could have, maybe there's something to be said for the quiet solitude of traveling through Skyrim's open world, where it's just valley after valley with nothing much in it. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas here.
Yeah.
I personally don't agree with that, but I can empathize with somebody who might think that way, which is, I used to also eat fast food every day. Gave me my wonderful physique. I don't do that anymore because I learned that was garbage. Made me feel terrible. So
just between this, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Battlefront, we're in the Overwatch beta.
It's getting rough. StarCraft 2.
And I know I didn't finish Metal Gear.
Oh yeah. Oof.
I'm kind of. Yeah.
You guys are doing pretty well. I'm
trying.
I'm still playing Batman. I haven't even played Mad Max yet, which I know is not necessarily required for everything, but I haven't played Mad Max. This game isn't even on my list. Fallout 4 isn't on my list. Peak last night as we were leaving work was like, anyone want to take this? If no one wants to take this, I'll play it tonight. And I was like the only person. I don't even want to touch it. Like it's not even anywhere within my radar, just because I know that I don't have time for it, and I don't know when I will in the foreseeable future.
This is one of those games though that I want to just sit down for like 6 hours at a time and just get lost. And that's when people talk about like you can beat it in no time. Like I guess if you're focused and that's what you want to do. Like my favorite thing about this game is almost therapeutic, where you just kind of go around and you just like pick up items and you craft things. And I think I spent like an hour on the base building mechanic.
Oh, you actually dug into that?
Oh, totally. It's pretty addicting.
And that's I think in Microcosm I had the same reaction that James had to the game and at large, where I got to the base building stuff and I was like, nope, never gonna touch this. Like if I finish the game and do all the side quests I want, maybe, but odds are pretty low that's gonna happen.
There's the part you go to the funny enough, the named Red Rocket gas station. And I was
that's where you can customize your power armor.
Yeah, well, you can. Oh God.
So, so Adam, I'm curious for the power armor. Mm-hmm. Sorry, this is just a really quick question.
Sure.
So you have to have one of those like
fusion cores.
Yeah, well, you need that, but you also need like the engine lift apparatus to dock it to actually start working on it.
I don't know. I know you can craft on it, and I haven't got that far yet because you get power armor pretty early, but then the fusion core runs out pretty quick. Mm-hmm. But then you can like find other fusion cores, but I'm like kind of saving it. You don't necessarily need the power armor, but it is like pretty fucking awesome when you get to use it. They've made that much pretty cool. It's like using a mech rather than just having power armor that you always wear. Mm-hmm. But the base building thing was cool too, because now when you do the crafting, you can basically dismantle things. So if there's like a junky car, you can just break it down into scrap. And I was like cleaning up the area. I was like, I'm going to make this place look nice. And I was like, that's so weird that I'm doing this.
Is that everywhere?
Certain
or is it
areas.
just in like zones where you can craft?
They have like build areas, and like I was like shutting doors and putting up signs and being like, this is my home now. I live here. And it's you form these weird attachments to this game. That's a big reason why I like the Fallout and Skyrim series. Like it truly is like role playing. Like oh God.
It truly is role playing.
That's really interesting actually, because I was curious. The game is so input wise so well tuned to a controller, which is the big reason I never really got into Skyrim. It was like this weird half step. Like Sky UI helped a lot, but didn't really take it all the way. Whereas Fallout 4, I think, has gone full controller, in a good way. Like, but it's interesting that they still give you the like diamond of dialogue options is just mapped to the arrow keys. That was weird.
It was more for clicking, I feel like.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, he's still here. I think I have to agree. Yes.
Tell me more. Yeah, what happens if you just get the fuck out?
No. I mean, thank you. I'm not interested.
Here, we'll do all charisma.
There you go.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm really excited to do a low intelligence run. Like all luck, 1 intelligence, all charisma. So you're just like a big dumb idiot that everybody likes.
Lots of strength.
Hope, like in previous Fallout games, it would change your dialogue options.
Is Hope.
Because that's how I feel when I look at her.
Hope.
Yeah.
Ah!
Look, everyone, it's Hope.
Well, yeah, it's really nice when big games like this finally come out, because for better for the most part, everybody's like, yeah, it's fun. Let's just play it and like stop bickering for a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Talk about all the cool fun
I
we
think
have.
Todd Howard even said at it was I don't know I think it was like QuakeCon or something like that, but he was in this interview and he flat out said he's like, yeah, most of our sales come from consoles, so of course they're going to tune it for console controls. Works fine with keyboard and mouse, but the problem with Skyrim is it didn't have the VATs. The VATs help infinitely with the controller.
Yeah, good point.
So like I don't blame them. I understand where they're going with it, but I don't know. We also live in a world where Shia LaBeouf is just watching his own movies backwards.
Is it really that much of a? I mean, I know there's like auto aim sometimes that can influence, but generally you can turn that off. How hard is it to translate something from a controller to a keyboard?
You have to do a lot of little tricks like auto aim assist and things like that to kind of help out.
I think
But
it's,
isn't that reverse?
yeah, it's in reverse. I
That
think
if it seems like it's more difficult to take a game like Unreal Tournament or something like that that's totally tuned for fast twitchy keyboard and then make it accessible to a controller.
I'm not a game developer, so I don't know this exactly, but you would think, right? And
Yeah.
then there's always like weird things where they put in mouse acceleration where you're like, who in their right mind played this and thought this worked?
Oh, it wasn't a question. It wasn't an ideal solution. It was the one that they had time and money to do. You don't have the looks to be behaving like that, ma'am.
She's like, that was sarcasm.
I think, James, to your point, the issue that I most commonly see in games when you are going from a controller-heavy input method to a keyboard is that it doesn't make any use of all the buttons you have. So you have these like tabbed and radial menus, and you have to go through extra steps to get to a screen you might want to get to, whereas if there was a series of direct mappings, you could just hit one button and go right to your map or your inventory.
Yeah.
Instead of having to pause, go through this menu, switch a tab, and then scroll down to see what you want to see.
Gotcha.
With that said, though, too, when we were at we were in Austin, I used the Elite controller. I took Jax and I was trying it out for a little bit. I was doing way better at Halo with that
Really?
thing. Yeah, because
It actually matters,
like,
huh?
Like this thing, the stick, like it doesn't. I'm starting to realize like what I'll start doing is just sort of center my reticle, and I'll just move my character so that the reticle goes over it.
Oh, yeah.
Because my aiming
That's your
one-to-one,
fine-tune. Mhm.
yeah, my aiming like one-to-one on a controller is not very good. And then right next to it, I had I was sitting at Jeremy's desk, and he had this really nice Razer mouse, and it was one-to-one. We were playing Overwatch, and I was like playing as Tracer, and I was like, ooh, fast, this is great. So
Which mouse was? Oh.
I don't know. It was like a really thin Razer one. I want to try it out because I'm using this Logitech mouse right now, which is good, but I think it's a little too thick for first-person shooters. And we've been playing a shitload of Overwatch. So.
Yeah, this is.
Can you get that Overwatch
it's
branded
funny
over
to
mouse?
think about how. Yeah,
yeah.
I might have to. Like,
man.
I hate being one of those dudes that is like, oh,
Death Adder's a pretty
I need
good
my
mouse.
super good mouse or whatever.
No, it makes a difference.
It does make a difference. I've been playing Overwatch here a little bit when we play like on lunch or whatever, and then I've been playing at home. And at home, I just have a plain old, boring two button with a
Logitech?
scroll wheel,
Oh, okay.
yeah, Logitech mouse. And here I have what is it, the Death Adder?
Yeah.
I hate that name, but I'll be damned if it doesn't actually make a huge difference.
Hey, man, it's Razer
if nothing for the sake of like melees on mouse and keyboard games are like such a huge deal. Like trying to go from WASD to like C or V or
Oh, I
F
see.
or G,
Yeah.
depending
You
on
need
how
those
you
thumb
have
buttons.
it set.
Yeah.
And if you can just do it from your thumb, it makes all the difference because you keep shooting, you keep moving, you keep everything's happening all at the same time, and so it's crazy how much of a difference it's.
I'm
I have to
finding
get
that
one for home.
thinner mice are better for me.
Thinner?
Yeah, like this one, like the way I hold mice like it's this
Yeah.
weird thing. Like I hold it like that.
Yeah, well, your
It's
one
strange.
over there is pretty chunky.
It's really big.
It's really
that's,
big.
That's more for like Photoshop.
Looks like you got a bit of
Yeah.
a claw
It's
grip
really
going
nice.
on.
Yeah, it's so it's funny too because I have two mice at my desk. I have the Naga for all the buttons on the side for when we play Smite, and then the Logitechs for everything else. It's like, truly, we live in a great time where I can have two mice.
Lots of options.
Well, fellas,
Really sad.
another thing that makes a drastic difference that you may be skimping on is your shave.
Okay.
And if perhaps you feel like there's a better shave experience out there for you, and especially that is true if you're using disposable razors and shitty shaving cream, you should try it at Harry's, which is a razors by mail service, and they're also a sponsor of this podcast. Harry's is the official partner of the Movember Foundation and will be donating money and helping raise awareness for men's health. So if you are deciding to join in that cause, Harry's would like to partner with you and help you keep your Movember trim, neat, and proper. Adam, you've participated in Movember before, yeah?
I did, and I feel really bad. Danovic hit me up a while ago, and we just got super busy with stuff, and he asked if we wanted to be a part of it. And
It didn't help that you spat in his face.
I did, and then
was
I
weird.
also I kicked him and then threw stuff at his car. That
All
was
unwarranted.
rude.
Not sure why you did that.
I was just we were getting super busy with work stuff and life stuff, so it was
Just not sure I'm gonna have the time to grow out my facial hair. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I think it's more. Of, I
apologize.
think you have to shave everything
busy.
and then wear it. And I felt bad because it was mostly because Extra Life was kind of taking over, and we've been super busy with video stuff. So
You should grow out. You look like a sheriff when you have a mustache. It's nice.
I'm hoping one day we can do a western, so that I can be a cowboy.
And then Joel can grow out his weird little pedo stash. Bull can grow out his stash.
And I can finally wear my Cowboys of Moo Mesa cosplay.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh. Fresh off the toilet.
Guys,
Your gut's still down in there? So, real quick. Oh, Jesus, Bruce.
Go ahead.
You don't look good.
You smell like someone who's been hovering over a shitter. That's a compliment.
Harry's, the razors are actually great. They're really heavy. It makes you feel manly. The shave cream is wonderful. The aftershave is great. I actually bought like expensive sandalwood shaving cream, and my girlfriend's like, "Don't use that." So I'm sticking with Harry's. Thank you, Harry's. And the starter set is actually a pretty amazing deal. So they say with our code DUDE, you can get the starter kit for just $10. That includes a razor handle, 3 blade cartridges, and your choice of shaving cream or foaming shave gel delivered to your door, and shipping is free. So and also you don't have to subscribe right off the bat. You can just pay your $10, get your kit, and try it out and decide if you want to keep going. So go to harrys.com as a special offer for our fans. Harry's will give you $5 off your first order with code DUDE. That's HARRYS.com, and use our code DUDE. So thank you, Harry's.
Thank you very much.
Also, God bless Bruce for vomiting every bit of liquid in his body.
Yeah.
Somehow still coming to
Dry.
work.
Ooh.
Dry Bruce.
Yeah,
I don't know what, man, this is like the 3rd day of food poisoning that I've had. I don't,
you should contact J.J. Abrams, see if you can see Star Wars early. Be like,
I'm dying?
Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
That guy died, so...
what?
What's
That guy actually died.
Oh, he did.
Yes.
Wait, really?
The guy who saw Star Wars early
But he did-
died
did he see
like
it, though?
today. Yeah, he saw it.
Oh, that's
Oh.
great.
Did he just like
It's
lay?
weird.
Did he lay it back and fade away, and then his clothes just kind of?
I no.
I always wonder with those situations.
Shit himself. and then they had to
man.
clean it up, and then they had to bury the body.
I worry about those sorts of situations where like, so J.J. Abrams looks over, and is like, "Did you like it?" And the guy goes, "It's okay."
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then he
Not,
died.
not worth dying for.
I literally just the other day read a story about a little girl who wanted to see Up and had a terminal disease. She saw Up and then died like hours later. These movies are killing people.
No,
It's the movies that are doing it.
they're surviving for that. It's like a widow that has, not a widow. She's not been widowed yet.
I was gonna say
Or
she's
that-
waiting for
The couples are really old, and then one of them dies, and then the other one dies like 2 days later.
yeah
They're waiting.
because they pull a dresser down onto themselves.
Can we outlaw movies?
That was a line.
No.
Movies don't kill people.
Well, that was a line in Spectre where
Nice segue.
spoiler James
Yeah,
Bond
good
is like,
segue.
A movie
"Hey,
we
Monica
all saw.
Bellucci, I want to have sex with you," and then he goes, she's like, "Okay," because
Yeah.
he says that line where he's like, "The number one cause of death is like,
Hey, babe,
being
wanna
a
fuck?
widow." God damn my throat.
Boy, he sounds
We're
just
all
as smooth
dying.
as James Bond. Didn't he?
Yeah. Da-da-da.
I was thinking that in the movie, just how fucking smooth he was, because obviously he's an actor and he's got lines on stuff, but he comes up to her just so perfectly. He comes to a funeral, to the woman's funeral of the husband. She just killed her husband or whatever, and then he goes,
She didn't?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. He killed her husband.
Oh, spoiler! Well,
He wasn't
It's the
paying
very
attention.
beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it kicks him out of a fucking helicopter.
He kicks him out and he walks up and he goes, she's like, "What business are you?" And he's like, "Life insurance." I'm like, "Guy's so fucking smooth."
he is really smooth.
God,
He's really smooth.
That's-
he's like a baby's bottom.
Yeah, they made a lot of movies about how smooth he is.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that this is still surprising you.
I've
a
said
real
this
dick thing to
before.
say.
I've only seen like 3 or 4.
Oh man, so I'm really curious what you thought about Spectre.
I
liked it.
Too.
Good
This
God.
This is the difference between
You must have been
James
confused by
Bond
most of
and
that film.
Jason Bourne, by the way. Jason
Oh,
Bourne
yeah.
is not smooth.
That's
No,
true. You're right.
He just kind of
He's
grimaces
like,
and punches.
and then he grabs a woman's breast and he goes, "I'm sorry." The movie ends.
Then he beats a dude to death with a book.
Yeah, it's very, very brute force.
Well, no, Jason Bourne gets it on with the chick from Run Lola Run, and
Blam.
then within
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes of the second movie,
Franca
she gets
Potente?
shot in the head.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It takes him forever. And the whole time she's like, "You can fuck me anytime you want to." He's like,
It's because he's an inhuman killing machine.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because there's been a lot of like, oh, this is the new Bond, like the Ethan Hunt of Mission Impossible, the Jason Bourne, Jack Bauer, whatever. What I like about Bourne is that his power is just like using a city's infrastructure. It's almost Die Hardy in that way. Like he gets around and escapes mostly by just knowing like the bus schedule and having a watch. And I always thought that was pretty cool. Like it reminded me of the scene in Casino Royale when Bond is escaping the hotel, and all he does is just kind of jump over the railing and walk on that little sconce. And I'm just like, man, I really like the idea that a spy's power is in being able to go where most people don't look. And for Bourne, it was just like just getting on the train at the right time, and I'm out.
Well, James Bond is always fucking up because he goes places and they're like, "What's your name?" He goes, "James Bond," and this is my social security number.
I'm gonna blow something up.
There is a point in, I'm pretty sure both Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale where they go, "All right, we're undercover. What's the plan?" He's like, "I've got a plan. Follow my lead." And he goes, "I'm James Bond. I'm a spy."
Well, it's so weird. So I guess we can get into it.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
I
So we
did.
all saw it. That's great.
Oh man, so I'm really glad that I've been trying to watch older Bonds because that movie is crammed with like literal and also meta references to other Bonds.
Absolutely.
And also tries to be everything. And it's such a cliche thing to say, like it's trying to be the ultimate Bond movie, but I really think it was. Like it was trying to provide closure and an interesting conclusion to the 4 Daniel Craig Bonds. It was also trying to.
He's under contract to do a 5th one, so
He is?
Yeah,
it's not over.
Oh,
They've been
Jesus.
talking about it.
the way they end it,
No.
I'm not going to spoil it, but like
That makes sense though.
it felt like wow, they're done.
Oof, yeah, that should have been it. Damn, I thought he was out.
See, that's the thing. I think that's a reference that a lot of people are missing.
Yeah, to Honor Majesty's Secret Service.
So I've got a comparison for you guys that I thought about last night after I saw the
Born
movie.
While
Identity.
you're going,
And I'll tell you kind of what I thought of. So I think Skyfall is the Dark Knight. I think Skyfall is the Dark Knight. I actually don't think Skyfall is as good as Dark Knight, but I think the movies are very similar in terms of a trilogy.
Okay.
And then this is Dark Knight Rises. I think Spectre is Dark Knight Rises.
Okay.
That's
Because
interesting.
Dark Knight Rises is a little more explosive, a little more like big, and
Kind
then
of
like
tonally confused.
yeah, I mean, like, I disagree, but regardless, either way, it's one of those things where I feel like it's a larger movie and it's got larger
You disagree
themes.
with your own comparison?
No, he was disagreeing with me.
Yeah.
Oh,
I disagree with Lawrence.
gotcha.
But regardless, either way, I think that's the way I looked at these films. Now, you could say that Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace are Batman Begins. That's the way I would look at it because they're back-to-back movies. They literally start right after the other one, which I always thought was cool. But it's a quadrilogy in the sense that there are 4 movies, but it feels more of like a trilogy to me. If you watch Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace back-to-back. That was the way I looked at it. I don't know. Am I wrong?
I think that's incredibly accurate.
Oh, good.
I feel very
worried.
similar. And again, this is my personal opinion.
once you get James's
but
validation
I can
on
tell
the
you,
Bond
I've
thing.
seen every single Bond movie.
There you have.
I'm very familiar with the Bond franchise. I'm a huge fan of the Bond franchise. I really liked Spectre, and I think there's an interesting thing here where people's expectations for movies get in the way of what the movie is actually.
I think that's
supposed to
very
be.
true,
And
yeah.
I think this is the same thing that happened. This is what Bruce and I, for a long time, for years, have been talking about happened with Dark Knight trilogy, which is that people were like, they made it unrealistic. It's not realistic anymore. It's like, dude, it was never realistic. All right, it had
about a guy named
secret,
Batman.
It had a
Batman.
secret ninja clan that destroyed the Roman Empire using poison gas made from flowers that made you see your worst fears. It was never realistic. It was gritty and it took itself a little bit more seriously.
I think we've talked about this too. There's a difference between what's perceived as realistic and believable.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're
Okay.
like
Oh, sure,
I
yeah.
think people get the two mixed up.
Yeah, yes, they definitely do. But I'm just saying, when people were like, "What? He fixed his knee using a thing, or the arm thing," it's like, yeah, he also flies around the city.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, no shit, he fixed his thing. They hung him from a rope, and now his back's okay. That's not how you fix a broken back. And it's like, none of this matters. This is all a moot point, and it doesn't hold any weight when you're comparing it to a world that has already shown that there is a ninja clan that destroyed the Roman Empire. And so there's a bunch of stuff like that. And so I think this is very similar, where people felt. I've read positive and negative reviews of Spectre. And people are like, it's not Casino Royale. Casino Royale was like
not.
James Bond in this, and it's like, while that's true, this is the 4th one.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Daniel Craig moping around for another whole movie, and a movie that takes itself so seriously. And by the way, Skyfall is awesome, but it is absurd.
Yeah.
And the villain doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So when you introduce a new villain and you go in Spectre, and a lot of people are saying, this villain doesn't make any sense. His plan is not logical. his motivations are unclear and stuff like that. It's like,
He's a Bond villain.
yeah,
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
a compound. He wants to control the world.
Also, I'm curious to see what they say is illogical about his motivations. Because I mean, like,
well, I think their problem is it's spelled out, and it's like it didn't need to be spelled out, and it's like if it didn't need to be
did.
spelled out and they still spelled it out, that's not their fault. That just means you didn't like their answer for what they were spelling out.
I think you can also look at it one of two ways as well. That they either one they retconned it or they planned it to have this
no, they
like
planned it.
this
They-
overarching.
They've been
villain.
planning it. They've been planning it for a very long time, and I've known that. And that's when I was telling you last night when they released Skyfall. They're like, this isn't part of the trilogy. Don't worry about this movie. It's just a throwaway. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
They said that about Skyfall?
Yeah, like
People said that.
I read that a couple
yeah.
of times, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like,
doesn't.
why would they do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when Skyfall released, it was like, this is a self-contained Bond movie. You can do whatever you want with it. But then I'm glad that Spectre came back to it and
Yeah.
started
So,
talking to it.
Spectre has incorporated the last 3 movies more than any
yes,
of them.
Yes,
it
absolutely.
absolutely did, and I think it gave weight to some of those other movies too. Now the thing is, they did not sit down when they were making Casino Royale and they said, "This is the plan for the next 4 films. This is how we're going to reach that point." And I think for some reason people think that's a logical thing to do when you're starting a new franchise. That you're going to say, like, you're going to pull a Marvel.
Yeah.
And the problem is, and we know where my stance is on that, when you try and do that, then you start neglecting the movies you're actually making in favor of it's building towards Spectre or whatever, right? So Spectre isn't this Avengers type movie like it could have been if they were planning it 4 movies ahead, but that means that we got to have 3 movies leading up to it that were all really, really good in their own unique ways, right? And so for me, that's my biggest problem. I loved all of the references. I think there's a difference between homaging things and calling back to things.
Yeah.
A callback is basically what they do in every single Terminator movie since Terminator 2, where
Say
they
all the
just
same
have Arnold
lines.
in a situation they put him in a situation so that way he can say, I'll be back.
Yeah.
Or they get Kyle Reese's character to say, like, come with me if you want to live, or like they just throw it in there. They just create the situation. They know what line they want to use and then they throw it in there. It's not natural. It doesn't make any sense. It's just a callback, and I think it takes you out of it. I think it's a different thing when you have a movie like Spectre and you put Daniel Craig in a white tuxedo jacket, like Roger Moore wore, like all the time in all of his movies, which is that like his unique look, and then you have him get into a close quarters battle on a train with a giant henchman type thug.
Yeah.
Right?
With,
These are
like
homages.
silver on his like thumb.
Oh yeah.
Well, there was
Details.
even like a second level like I thought that was the most clever reference because the manner in which he dies references the movie Jaws, which is named Jaws, which is another villain that's in the Bond films. I was like, holy shit, am I reading too much into that, or is that like seriously a second level meta reference to a Bond
and,
thing?
and I think there's things where it is when they think of it beforehand and they go, we are going to intentionally do this.
The cat was a little blunt though. Like there were some things that are just remember that thing? Now it's gone. Like, it didn't-
Yeah, I know, but I mean that whole sequence
Yeah, you're
was
right.
an homage, you know. So like
That's true.
like, but it's more than winking at the camera and going, get it? We've seen the movie you've seen too. It's like we understand the movie that you've seen, and now we're trying to integrate it in ways that aren't just showing you clips from the past of it. And Spectre had that, and for a lot of the negative reviews I've read are saying that took them out of it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it's the most subtle way to do it.
Well, also we have to think that like the people that are watching this movie aren't all 50 years old.
Yeah.
Like they don't all know every single James Bond. I think most people, you know, again, they're trying to make this to appeal to a mass audience that hasn't seen every single James Bond
Yeah.
film. They know that those are tropes, but at the same time, they may not know every single trope.
Yeah.
And I mean, like for example, the torture scene I knew obviously was from a James Bond film. You know, a number of them. But at the same time, it was really, really fucking scary.
Yeah,
and I
it
hated
was.
watching it because I felt so disgusted
Yeah.
when they were doing it.
But also, it took. This is the 4th film it took to like build up to that torture scene.
Yeah.
Bruce and I were talking about this last night, where they had a torture scene in Casino Royale, but it was just
that's true.
it was just Hannibal knocking his balls around.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's cool. Like, and he even like they're kind of making fun of the trope of like,
Right.
He's like, all you need is a chair and a piece of rope. That's it. And then they built up to this scene where like it was super intricate.
Yeah.
And it was this crazy torture scene. But it, like Bruce was cringing the whole time. I
Oh,
saw him,
the
or maybe he
worst.
was trying to not throw up.
It was both. It was both. Yeah.
So this is also for me the first time I can think of where the tone of James Bond has changed within an era. Right?
yeah,
so
yeah.
each era is the actor performing it, right? This is the first time where the tone has shifted within an era. So when there is another Daniel Craig James Bond movie, it can be
Yeah.
whatever it wants to be. And that's awesome because normally we've gotten to this habit where it's like, well, we have to recast James Bond. We have to wait 6 years until people have kind of forgotten about the tone that we set forth before we can change it and do it a different way. And it's like, no.
Yeah, they're forcing it to be all of those things.
This is one time. I think Sam Mendes was like, why can't I make a fun James Bond movie? Like, why can't I make a fun throwback spy film? You know, I haven't seen The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which
I really want to watch that. Damn.
which I've heard is that movie. I've heard really good things about it, and I've heard it is that like throwback spy film, kind of like Kingsman was, you know. But I haven't seen it, and I'm just excited. I'm just glad Daniel Craig didn't have to mope around, and they didn't feel like we need to kill off someone important to Daniel Craig like yet again to
Yeah.
like keep things going.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed all of the homages to James Bond things because I didn't feel like they were talking to the dumbest person in the audience.
Yeah.
They were talking to me.
Huh.
Which, not saying that I'm the smartest person in the audience, but I'm very familiar with the Bond franchise and I kind of adore all of it. So, you know, I'm glad that that's the audience that they chose to design those things for.
Well, it's so weird because you were talking about expectations, and I feel like I know that you and I had a different reaction to like the opening scene of Kingsman. I felt like that established tone. I feel like Spectre lets you know very early what kind of movie it's going to be. Like when the building falls over and he lands on a couch.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the kind of Bond we're dealing with.
Yep.
And it establishes it like it's like the establishing action scenes. I'm like, okay, I've course corrected and I know what to expect.
All the last 4 films, the opening scene has always been amazing.
Yeah.
Like even Quantum of
Yeah,
Solace.
Quantum
like,
had those car
It
chases.
just starts off with that car chase that kicks your ass. But the
What's Skyfall open with?
Skyfall.
I just remember that like awesome whoop ass fight in like the dark.
I just
Skyfall's the
No,
train.
Skyfall was him
the
getting
train,
shot
fight on
and
the train.
dying.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I mean, before that, they're motorcycling
Yeah, yeah.
across
And they also have
rooftops and
that
stuff.
the caterpillar that destroys a train car and he
Yeah.
hooks it into the. It's amazing. It's an
Yeah,
amazing.
but then
stuff.
this one has this. They're doing the Day of the Dead festival in Mexico City, and they do this one shot that's like 10 minutes
Yeah,
long.
that was really impressive.
And it's cut in a very, like there's obviously they're hiding the cuts of the
You know
one
what-
shot, but god damn, it's good. And you're like, there's no dialogue, there's nothing. You're just like, what's happening?
Just remember, even before that, there's in that shot when the camera pans away to her and then snaps back to him, and he's already changed into a suit, and it happened in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we're dealing with supernatural Bond.
Well, so I here's the thing. I think because like you're saying, the tones changed over the movies. I totally agree. But also at the same time, they did tell it. Like I remember reading about Casino Royale a lot when it first came out, and they said that this was going to be like a grittier James Bond than the James Bond that is just learning. So if you follow all 4 movies, he's actually learned and he's gotten better at his craft.
Yeah, and
And to me, that's what Skyfall and this movie, because Skyfall even he's a little more brute force. Like the woman dies in the middle of Skyfall, and like he didn't prevent it. It's kind of one of those things. Where it's like, oh fuck, well that happened. And then in this movie, he's sort of able to make everything work. And I think that that's something that he's learned across the 4 movie quadrilogy, which I thought was really cool, and it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It makes sense that he is now so suave and debonair, and he never fucks up because he's had these 3 movies to learn.
there's a point in the movie where there's a scene in Skyfall where he's trying to get his shooting back, and they make a point of saying like M lied to him about how good he is of a shot, just because she knew she needed him in the field, but he isn't as good as he used to be and could be, right? But this movie, they make such an explicit point of he takes an automatic weapon,
Shoots it with one
and
hand.
one shot to some dude who's like a mile away.
Yeah.
And that to me is such a clear message of going like, see, he's got it. Like he's
figured it
back.
out.
He's good.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I
we've
feel
got
like
it.
even that scene was kind of tongue in cheek because he's firing an automatic rifle with one arm and just like gunning dudes down, and then blows up the entire compound with like one bullet hitting a pipe.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying, though.
They're just like standing there, and there's this giant nuclear comical explosion, and I'm like, this movie is insane.
And it did the same with the helicopter too at the very end
Yeah.
of the movie.
Oh, God, you're right,
Because
yeah.
I was like, well, you know what I appreciated though. Again,
Yeah.
I mean, like spoiler alert, he shoots a helicopter and it goes down, but he shoots a helicopter, it doesn't explode like the A-Team. That's what I appreciated. Like he shot it, and I was like, please don't explode, and it didn't. He shot it, and it basically like it sort of screws up an engine, and the thing has to crash land. Which I was like, okay, cool, that's a little more realistic.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated.
Yeah, I the thing is, I came out of it and I was like, man, I really enjoyed that. I had a great time. I'm glad that I didn't feel so. I don't know if the right word is jaded, but I didn't feel so blah. To
There is
people
love in the
saying-
afterlife.
But I will say, it wasn't perfect. There were a couple things that I wasn't crazy about. I didn't think that it had some of the visual spectacle that Skyfall had.
Yeah, it didn't.
Like the sequence in Skyfall when he's going to the Chinese casino.
That's beautiful.
It's amazing when he's in Shanghai fighting the sniper.
That was really
those,
cool.
Those are all these
Like
like
the pulsing
visual
lights
shots
behind,
and
yeah.
stuff that
Yeah.
are just super, super amazing. This didn't really have any of that. The Day of the Dead stuff is great,
Yeah.
but then after that, it's like, and this is what happens. This is why winter James Bond movies kind of burn out for me because they don't have that spectacle, and this is more of a winter James Bond movie. And then it's also 2.5 hours. It could have been a solid 2:10.
So that's what I said to Adam because when Skyfall came out, I was like, "This is the greatest James Bond." I was like, it's too long. Skyfall's too long,
Yeah.
and this movie is also too long.
Yeah.
They're both too long.
I think
And,
I was reading the trivia. I think it clocked in at the longest James Bond movie of
it's
all
like
time.
2 hours and 45 minutes or
Yeah.
something, right? Like
Really?
it's
Wow.
it's really long, and they're both just way too long. I think there are a bunch of different scenes where like they're just staring at each other, and I'm just like, I get it. Like I understand the character development.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Though there is one scene I will say without spoiling it. There's one scene that is paced perfectly where it's like they're having a moment and then boom, something happens, and
yeah.
it's like almost timed exactly where you're about to go like.
Yeah.
But before you can do that, something happens.
Yeah,
You're
I
like,
agree.
oh, that was perfect timing.
agree.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's
so-
actually a really good shot establishing that particular scene as well. Assuming that we're thinking about the same thing.
But yeah, so
It's a train scene.
Yeah,
I thought
yep.
I thought Spectre
yeah.
was great.
when the dead on from the table and the totally symmetric shot that
Yep.
kind of sets
Yes.
that up. I was like,
Um,
all right, Sam Mendes. Like occasionally you remind us that you're really good at.
You might want to record a little thing before we start talking about Spectre. That there's a lot of Spectre spoilers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or we'll just put it in the description.
I mean, we're not spoiling anything about the story, right? We're just talking generically about the shots and the fact that there are fights. I would like to believe that somebody assumes that all the things we said would be in the
except
movie
that
anyway.
I would say that I would have to concede that like the narrative structure is the only thing thing that because the pacing is so all over the place that you're like I don't know when this movie's gonna end. Like is
Okay.
this the ending? I don't know. And so, like,
I see what you
stuff
mean.
like that. I feel like could
It's funny.
throw people for a loop.
James Bond even says this isn't the end.
Yeah,
Which is hilarious because I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
oh man, how much
He
longer?
looked
do
at
we got?
Bruce Green and said, "Strap in, boy."
It kind of felt like Return of the King.
Oh,
Yeah.
Where it's like ending 4, ending 5.
For me, it was kind of Dark Knight, where I was like, "Is it
Oh,
done?"
that too, yeah,
no,
yeah.
we're still going.
Yeah,
except like the extra inning of Dark Knight, I was like, "Yes, fuck yes!"
Yeah,
and now, not quite as enthused
Yeah.
by the end of Spectre. Still enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
well, if you instead of watching long movies want to spend 18 hours at a stretch playing Fallout, perhaps you should equip yourself with some Mack Weldon underwear.
Nice.
Because it is antimicrobial and will keep your crotch smelling
I'm
wonderful.
wearing mine right now.
I am too.
I
Nice.
think I am as well.
Look at that.
God,
Oh no, not
There it
today.
is.
Mac boys.
Mine was yesterday.
Adam's arm is in the way.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Nice.
Good shot.
I would, but I just got done traveling, so all my underwear are dirty, including the ones I'm wearing. But Mack Weldon make for pretty good travel underwears, because boy, they stay fresh. Mack Weldon believes in smart design, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. I can attest to that. The website's pretty clean. It's easy to buy your underwears. All the products are naturally antimicrobial, something we already mentioned. So even their shirts will resist stank. Which, man, what I have some favorite T-shirts. I think that's pretty obvious. I think we all do. And man, if you skip one deodorant day and you got to do some scrubbing to get that boy funk out of it, that's not an issue with Mack Weldon though. They want you to be comfortable. So if you don't like your first pair, you can return it, and they will still refund. Or sorry, they will refund you, no questions asked. You can still keep it too. So they are so confident in their product that they basically have a money-back guarantee. And you even get to keep the underwear if you are dissatisfied, which you probably won't be because we like our underwears and you will too. Not only does Mack Weldon do underwear, it's socks and shirts, but they perform. So go to MackWeldon.com and get 20% off using promo code DUDESOUP. Your genitalia will thank you. And perhaps a certain significant other in your life. Because I've been told my ass looks wonderful in those things.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I get told that a lot anyway, so I'm bragging
By
now.
you?
I'm just
Yeah.
You
Mostly
say
me.
that to him?
Mostly
you
me.
gotta stop saying that to him.
Why? It looks great.
He's gonna get a big head.
If I see an ass that looks great, I'm gonna say, "Hey, listen, ass, you look great."
well done, ass.
Are you calling the person an ass? What's
It's
happening?
a column A, column B.
I can
Okay.
like it's cool. Fallout has
Wait,
color
what's that
now.
splashing there happening though?
That's
Why
a,
aren't you
that's a
looking
glitch.
at-
That's
I
a
think
glitch.
that's the.
Yes, don't look away from the glitch.
Perfect game.
Oh. I mean, this whole game.
You're just flopping around, no big deal.
I've got some game capture on the Xbox version where one dude, he's like, "Hey, good night," and takes a nap, and he's just floating in the air. I was like, "All right, this is what we're dealing with."
I love
it's a
that.
Bethesda game.
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that
it's
I think it's fun.
people got all bent out of shape about Assassin's Creed, but for me, it never stopped my playing of the.
shit.
Oh my god!
That's a big one.
Oh, it's a Mario.
Why aren't you vatsing? Vats.
I don't know how to use VATS.
That's how I
Don't
feel.
know how to
Probably
use VATS.
probably V.
Space.
No, is it space?
Yeah.
Tab?
They change it in every fucking game.
Space. Hit space.
Space is jump.
Hit
so-
space.
Tab.
Try C.
E.
I tried C. E,
Q.
Maybe E. F.
Tab.
Q?
Shift. Control.
Your dog is in trouble.
Hold on.
Shoot the
We're
shoot
stuck
the
in
thing.
this menu. Fucking hell. I should probably just look at it.
What is VATS? Why is
4.
So difficult.
I don't know. I mean, I played on controller.
You gotta
so
heal that
Yeah.
dog.
Middle mouse.
You don't have to.
Yeah, he picks
No,
himself
it's not
up.
V. We already tried it.
V for VATS.
There we go.
Got him.
did
Nice
it.
job.
It's not.
Yeah,
weird.
well, you did it, Adam. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really need it so much when. God, I hate the fucking menu system. Okay.
But yeah, I hope
10 out of
people aren't getting bent out of shape at Q.
Q.
The
Is
one.
it Q? I hit Q.
Not reload.
Maybe it
Whatever.
was changed. The keybind was changed. Did you heal your dog?
Look at that. No, he'll get back up.
Oh.
Yeah, I learned that. Don't give Stimpaks to the dog.
Yeah, they regenerate. Ooh, you got one bobby pin.
Yep.
Make it count. Nope.
Oh.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Don't break that
force
bobby
it.
pin.
Hey.
Don't force it.
If you escape, I think it restores the health on your bobby pin. If it's
I don't
anything-
think it does anymore.
Oh,
actually.
really? They fixed it? Man, but yeah, I love glitchy games because I don't know. Maybe I don't take them as seriously as I should.
Well, if they break the game, if
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
impossible to play, but if it's just if it's just
dude
a
levitating
cutscene
into
where
the
the guy
sky.
doesn't have any skin on his face,
It's funny.
then you should just enjoy it.
I'll-
chosen.
To a point, I even prefer that because it adds a weird sense of charisma and humanity. Like if it's this perfectly polished, pristine thing, it's like okay, it's almost like a McDonald's burger. Like they worked on it so much and codified it so much that it almost doesn't feel like a human being made it. Because to me, things that
I see.
are made are just a little rough around the edges, and you can kind of see the humanity through that. Whereas if you have a game where somebody's like, "Thank you for helping me find my cat," and then I'm gonna go to sleep now, and then they just like hover into the sky, I'm like, cool.
My precious narrative.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing
The
with
illusion is broken.
Fallout's more about gameplay and less about narrative. So
Well, it's been a while since I've given a fuck about any game's narrative.
Yeah.
Spec Up the Lines was pretty good.
Even
A lot of
then.
people are upset about the Halo video on the No, where Adam said that Master Chief doesn't.
Oh
die.
yeah, we spoiled it.
Yeah.
Except I was talking about Halo 3.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's not a
yeah.
spoiler to say something doesn't happen. I guess it is in a way.
Maybe.
It's
So
like, what were
weird.
you thinking? What,
I opened into
Boy.
a discussion on the subreddit with some
Unreal,
people
man.
about it, trying to desperately understand.
Died
and I kind
protecting
of
his
do.
sugar bombs.
And they made a lot of people made a very educated point, which is that the marketing of the game
That's true.
does push to a dangerous conclusion between Locke
What?
and
it
Master
does.
Chief.
The
It does imply.
marketing
It's also a
was-
straight up
the
lie.
marketing.
Yeah, the marketing was like sometimes it's a little off. Like I've seen it like with Reach and Halo 3 where it's like, well, it's not exactly the game, or like ODST where you're like, okay, I see it's vaguely in the same universe. I can see how you would do that, but
hold on. Let me circle all the way back to James Bond here. When I'm watching any James Bond film, I know that James Bond, the protagonist, is not going to die.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Master Chief.
well, if there were two
Well,
protagonists,
yeah, but
though-
Locke is not the protagonist, and that I
Well, you
knew.
do play as him, though.
But same with you play as Arbiter, and it's one of those things where the Arbiter's like I don't give a shit what happens to the Arbiter. Master Chief has always been the protagonist. of
Yeah,
Halo.
no, I mean, like, look, I mean, also the way they like saying some of the marketing campaigns where they're like R.I.P. Master Chief, and you're like, oh shit, did he die? But they did the same thing at the end of Halo 3.
Yeah.
Well, the marketing campaign.
That was the reference I was making.
Yeah,
you have to
yeah,
beat it
yeah.
on Legendary to see that he's still alive. God damn it.
Well, no, I mean, you don't have to play it on Legendary to see that he's still alive.
Huh? Thought that was the ending. You got to see him pop around.
You see a little bit of Requiem.
Guess what,
That's
guys?
really about it.
Master Chief's not going to die. It's fucking Halo.
He might.
I still understand that the marketing
Yeah.
was, but to me in my head, I was watching that marketing and I was going, "Oh, this is the equivalent of when a Super Nintendo game about a flying spaceship
Yep.
is going from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. They're like, how are we going to get kids to buy this?" Oh, let's say
it on
Emperor
there.
Gignok has taken over Galaxy S12, and only you, as fighter pilot Grandiose 93, can save the planet universe. And like that's the commercial, and it's a kid like, whoa, and he gets transported into it. It's like the marketing team kind of had to come up with something because
Yeah.
it's a game where you shoot men's, you know. And so I don't know. That seemed obvious to me, but I guess it wasn't obvious to a lot of people. And the fact that you guys made a joke about Halo 3.
Should have made it
lit some
clear.
fires.
the
My bad.
marketing. The marketing in Halo 5 is so vastly different.
Yeah.
Like I was a little upset at the way they sold the story, especially with the very first trailer where Chief's in the poncho.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh wow, they're like, this is
That
a guy,
never happens.
This is a guy who's damaged and he's lost and he's looking for his lost love, who's this like digital human thing, and like, oh, this is all over the place. And instead they're like, and then they started introducing things where like, oh yeah, Blue Team, these things you've only read about in books and comics, they're there. They were just surrogates for co-op. That's all it was. And I was just like, it was real. I don't know. Yeah.
Another one of my things too is I was like, well, I mean, it's weird to think that you're looking for narrative in a game franchise that
I know.
literally the first subtitle was Combat Evolved, where they were like, gameplay, the
RoboCop
game, you know?
versus aliens.
Well, but I mean, at least that's setting up some sort of plot-ish thing. I'm just saying Combat Evolved was what it was called,
Yeah.
which seems like they're kind of saying it's always going to be.
It wasn't that.
cares? Talk about Overwatch!
Well, the podcast is over. Thankfully.
Wasn't
Oh
that
man, Overwatch.
We just had to start a little late, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're.
No, that's not an actual. Yeah, we probably still have about 15 minutes because there was some stream
Bruce.
fuck ups.
You got to throw up.
15 minutes. What do you mean 15 minutes?
The stream was down.
You're gonna love hearing this.
Yeah.
OBS got changed.
No, it didn't. It changed itself. This time we know for certain it fucking changed.
It changed itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the audio thing, the mic, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's
We
working
can talk
now.
about it after
It's working
the
now, baby.
podcast.
It's not though.
Yeah, Overwatch. It's not free to play, which means it won't be like a MOBA. Hope for lucky fucking Lee. Jesus Christ.
They'll still want to make a lot of money off of it, though.
I'm fine with that.
I
They can make it, but-
I see lots of character DLC packs, but
Wait,
skins,
is it not
just
free to
skins,
play?
please.
no, $60, baby.
I'll pay for that.
40, 60.
$60,
That was
and you
40
can get all the
$40 digital,
characters.
right?
Yeah, 40 for
pay
PC
for that.
digital.
No problem.
60 for the starter pack, which has skins.
No problem.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's gonna.
I'm sold,
That's
man.
okay though. I want skins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it looks like this. So I'm not really into Heroes of the Storm, but one of the main things that got me into Smite was all the crazy super skins that they have. That like actually are like character model changes and stuff. Those are misses.
Looks like
but
you're just kind of tilting.
Heroes of the Storm has skins too, but none of them are like. They don't. One, I don't know any of the fucking characters in Heroes of the Storm. I don't have no idea.
Better get used to them because they're going to be all over Overwatch.
Are they?
Well, they'll
I don't
probably
know
be
what's
the
that
I think
reverse.
it's the other way around.
Yeah, now
What?
Overwatch characters are going to be Heroes of the Storm.
Joel, I think don't you think Heroes of the Storm characters will be in Overwatch?
Nope.
No?
Yeah.
Overwatch is a separate IP.
A whole new universe?
Tracer, well, Trace.
Yeah.
Tracer is already going to be in Heroes
Oh.
of the Storm.
Oh,
So
never mind.
Overwatch is a separate
here he
IP, and Heroes of the Storm combines all of the Blizzard's IP in an arena they call the Nexus.
Boring.
So anyway, there was nothing about it like that like hooked me from like a design point of view. But now like they've already shown a couple of the skins that are going to come to Overwatch. I'm like, oh god, my money! I can feel it leaving
them
my
skins.
wallet. They're actually changing like the character models in some ways, and
$10 a skin?
Yes.
$10 a skin?
Well, they haven't said
yeah.
I shouldn't use too.
Euros. That's how much they are.
Fuck you, $10 a
yeah, I'm
skin.
not going to do that then. Never mind. I'm out.
I still got you.
Yeah, they people were mad at them for being kind of coy about like what their business model is, and like, how do they not know? I was like, well, I think they're just trying to see like what the market will
Yeah.
sustain.
Well, it's like Destiny. Remember that Destiny interview where that guy was like, "Look, we're gonna do it if they're gonna pay for it. Like,
yeah,
fuck
yeah.
it. They're gonna do it. They're gonna give us the money, so why not?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
And everyone got all upset.
How
about
dare
it.
he tell us
So
the
now
truth?
it's like, don't say anything.
Well, I mean,
Don't say anything.
it's a game that they want to sustain for a long time, and they even announced like they're doing like an animation studio and all these things. And this is also something
Kind
to
of
keep
Team
in mind.
Fortress format a little bit.
A little bit, but like kind of next level Team Fortress. I was,
Meet the
I was
Trace
talking to
side.
James about this. Like people forget that this was Project Titan. Remember that thing they talked about years ago?
Yeah.
And I remember. I think I can finally tell the story now that Overwatch is a thing. But I remember getting drunk at a bar during some PAX thing, and I ran to some Blizzard employees, and I'm like, "What is Titan?" And the guys were looking at each other like, "Can't really say, but like we should at least imagine we don't want to cannibalize our own business. We don't want to make something that is gonna trump our biggest thing, which at the time was World of Warcraft.
yeah.
Since then, Hearthstone is a thing, Heroes of the Storm is a thing, and they're like looking at the market and being like, what can we do? I'm almost positive Overwatch at some point was a single player and multiplayer experience, and they just got rid of the single player part, and they said we're gonna keep the multiplayer because it's fun, but we need to find a way to keep people paying for this. Since then, they've learned how to do microtransactions in all their main IPs, except for Diablo. That went poorly. But regardless, like this is Titan. This is their new model. This is the thing they want to make money for them for the next 10 years. So I can see them why they're not in a rush to come up with any sort of business strategy because they probably don't know. So anyway.
I mean, I think they might. We have no idea to verify this, but I feel like it makes sense to do what we've said Call of Duty could have done
Same
for a
thing happened to
while,
me.
right? Which is just like seasons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Black Ops Season 3 as opposed to Black Ops 3, or Like you just kind of cover that ground. So now we are playing. It's called the Origins Edition, right?
Right.
Overwatch the Origins Edition, which includes all the characters that we've seen thus far and some skins. But then it makes logical sense that Season 2 would have a new wave of heroes in it, or something that I think would be cool is all the heroes again, but their movesets have evolved
Yeah.
in such a way that it doesn't unbalance the game.
And then if you want to keep playing season 1, you can.
Yeah,
Season
yeah.
2 is there. the thing that I was really worried about when it came to Overwatch's model is something that I have whined about extensively with MOBAs.
I think it's justified. I think it's a justified whine. So
Oh, thank you. It's rare to hear. Usually I just have to complain at the air. But yeah, I don't know if I've said this specifically on the podcast, but what I find so aggravating about the MOBA setup is that
Facts.
there's a nearly unlimited continuation of new mechanics and new abilities. And unlike a fighting game where you can potentially, in your mental headspace, learn everything in a pretty short order, and there's a unified rule set that binds all of those characters, MOBAs just go all over the damn place. So every time you play, you see something new, which is, I can see the value in, but also it's really frustrating when that new thing kills you. It feels cheap. Like, not many people, with the exception of like Dark Souls players, enjoy dying over and over again
I don't.
to like rules that they didn't know existed.
I don't.
And that's typically how I feel when I play a MOBA. So when it comes to Overwatch, when it's like, we're going to charge you money for this chunk of content, and that chunk of content will be set for at least a while, then I can think, okay, now that the line's drawn here, I know that there's a finite data set to learn to become good at this game. Because man, fucking Smite has like 18 different kinds of stun.
Well, Team
Ridiculous.
Fortress 2 has still been the best at that.
Yes.
In the sense that the items will drop randomly, but you can also pay for them. And at the same time, they don't unbalance the game. They're just new items that you can use or not. Like you can use the stock weapons and play Team Fortress 2 for as long as you want and not feel underpowered.
Which they didn't get right at first.
They did not get right at first. It took them years. Yeah.
You used to have to get achievements to unlock them.
That's
I remember
true.
going on achievement servers, so I could get
Yeah.
achievements, so I
Yep.
could maybe play the pyro gun.
But they
the
changed-
backburner was really broken.
But they changed that after a couple of months. Like they figured out that people are just idling on these achievement servers, and they're like, you know what, fuck it, just let these things
Just
drop.
encouraging bad
Well,
behavior.
charge farm.
Also,
Also-
well, no, there was both. It was, and that's what and again, it never felt like it was unbalanced. And Valve did a really good job with that. I always thought.
Joel, there's a term for it where over time every successive MOBA character gets a little like more powerful than the last. So after a year or two, the beginning set of heroes are just underpowered naturally because of like power creep. What's the term for that? Oh, he's listening to something. He's probably watching a
I
musical.
mean, I don't know nearly as much about. I basically play one MOBA, but I will tell you that Smite at least has gone in and like Zeus, one of the first characters of the game, recently got a whole reset. Basically, they changed one of his moves. They updated all his other 3 moves to better compete with the opponents that he was now facing. So I think it is possible that some games, like I'm sure that they all do it, but like maybe not as fast as you would want them to.
Yeah.
Where they look at the whole spreadsheet as opposed to just like what it influences here. So it's like, hey, we're going to introduce a new mage or whatever, or a new ranged character, or a new hunter or whatever. And they just look at the other hunters and they go, how does this compare to these? As opposed to necessarily going, how does this compare
The whole game.
to
Looks good.
a guardian or whatever. But I don't know. I think yes, it is basically a huge game of paper, rock, scissors that has more different variations of rocks and papers and scissors than ever before. And next month they could add a new paper or rock, which then you're gonna have to figure out what that trumps and what trumps it every single time.
With that said, though, we're in the Overwatch beta, and they just added, 3-4 characters?
They
something
added
like
3
that?
characters, yeah.
And we're like, they don't feel overpowered.
No,
they
they
feel
don't.
pretty balanced,
Yeah.
and they fit within the universe.
The ice chick,
Ice Chick's, yeah, she's pretty.
She good?
She's
good.
She
You can
might be
still-
the new OP.
Yeah?
She's pretty
If you
pretty
know how
rough
use
to
her-
face.
Yeah, if you know how to use her.
So
Yeah.
I've been pretty deep in StarCraft for a while, and Blizzard games can be perfectly balanced, but people just don't know it yet. There are a lot of times in StarCraft, and it's even cyclical, where like one race will be deemed overpowered because players have figured out how to do this thing. But then if you give it a couple of months, people figure out how to deal with that, and then the tide kind of shifts. So I could see the same thing happening with Overwatch, where it's got the impeccable Blizzard balance, but it's just the meta that the way that people are playing the game makes a certain character overpowered at a particular time.
I've also played WoW multiplayer, and that wasn't necessarily the best balance.
Yeah. I didn't play any WoW multi.
There's
so-
weird things where I think on paper you look at it and you're like, this is all balanced, but then you cannot presume play style and
Yeah.
the fact that like, so Bastion is kind of our big hang up in Overwatch. He is the robot character that can become a turret that has a shield and basically is just a giant shooting turret all the time.
Love Bastion.
And he gets kills, and a lot of the plays of the games, if there's a Bastion in the game, will just be
chilling.
him going like. Brr, brr, brr.
Even I get playing the game as Bastion.
Yeah, even Joel gets it. Super fun to play, but like, if you don't have someone on your team who will get behind that shield and then like basically take one for the team to get rid of that Bastion,
Yeah.
then you're kind of fucked. Though they just introduced the new character Genji, who's a ninja.
He can dash.
He's Hanzo's brother.
He can deflect,
Yeah.
which is the exact counter to Bastion, which means that every bullet that Bastion fires at him will be deflected back, which means that by the time Genji reaches him, you can have dismantled the shield and at least displace the fortress that he creates around himself.
Well, there are other characters like Tracer can get behind him and stuff like that too. So I mean, there are other characters.
Tracer, Reaper,
that can get,
Hanzo.
I mean, which is fine,
Yeah.
but at the same time,
Junkrat.
like it's again, I feel like that's still balanced. I don't think there's any unbalance there. I think it's just that people don't know how to deal with it.
Well,
yet.
also I think it's different too because the comparison to like MOBAs and Smite comes up. You can't switch your character in the middle of Smite or League of Legends.
That's true.
Yeah, this is a game. This is more like Team Fortress where you're like, shit, I'm just getting fucked over by Bastion over and over. All right, I'll go Reaper and I'll go invisible
Blink
or
through,
invincible. I can warp to him and then I can go invisible and I can go behind him and then I can do my ult and destroy everything around me. So it's I don't know. Like there is balance and I do like that.
It's balanced. It's balanced on paper. The problem is, it's like now you hit.
Yeah.
You spend the next like 3 minutes of the game not actually saying, but being in chat, being like, guys,
Yeah.
there is a Bastion in this corner of the
Please.
map.
Yeah.
I can go Reaper, but I need someone to make sure I can get to this point. And then you're
Yeah.
just like doing it, and then you just like get no responses, whatever.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, it still has the frustration of some MOBAs of just teamwork. Like we were playing last night, and we went from one team who is the worst, and then we played with another team who's really good.
Yeah, yeah.
So
well, no, maybe it's because we were really good. You ever think about that? Adam?
Boom.
This is Adam and I just playing.
Oh.
This is Adam and I just playing, and yeah, it was the kind
Well, that
of
was the
situation
problem.
where
You didn't have Spool and I.
Well, no, I mean it's a noticeable situation when we've all played together in this room,
Yeah.
and it's like we need a healer, and then Bruce is already Mercy. Like Bruce will immediately switch to Mercy, and then that'll keep this person like, oh, we can't push this point, and then I'll switch to Winston, and then I'll push people off the point, and then Bruce will keep me alive with Mercy, and then Adam will be there destroying their Bastion. Like all these things, they all fall into piece when you can just go, hey, let's do this. We need this. This is
Yeah.
what we need. You know.
Well, on the note of balance, I got to bring some balance to my colon in the bathroom.
Okay.
So we're done with this podcast.
Yeah.
what a way to end.
Spool, No Man's Sky is gonna be the biggest video game ever. You can do whatever you want. Isn't that cool?
No, it's dumb.
Oh, why?
No, my biggest thing is no one knows what that game is. They've said and promised so many things over the last 3 or 4 years. It annoys me that people. And I saw a really good comparison today about.
Hey, Lauren, are you watching this?
I want that guy. Spool, what if they promise that you think that they're not gonna deliver on?
Everything.
That's not.
Name one thing they said.
No,
Well, hold on.
they-